6 o'clock, Tuesday, April 13th. The Board of Trustees of Colerain Township convene for the meeting of for executive sessions. Would you please make a roll call? You want to do that?
Sure. Mr. Unger?
Here.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Here.
Mr. Waller?
Here.
Do I have a motion?
Yes, sir. Good evening, Board. I recommend that the Board go into executive session in accordance with the Ohio Revised Code, Section 121.22G1, to discuss the employment, compensation, potential discipline of a public employee. Also, in accordance with the Ohio Revised Code, Section 121.22G3, to
Point of
discuss...
information.
Yes.
We need somebody to take the minutes while you call this,
Okay.
if that's,
I'm happy to do that.
okay. I just want to make sure that we have it in the record.
Sure. Yep, I'm happy to do that. Thanks. Okay, so next is I recommend that the Board go into executive session in accordance with Ohio Revised Code, Section 121.22G3, to discuss pending or imminent litigation with the Township Attorney, and also in accordance with the Ohio Revised Code, Section 121.22G8, to discuss confidential information relating to specific business strategy, and to discuss negotiations with other political subdivisions respecting requests for economic development assistance.
I would motion that we go into executive session for those reasons.
I'll second it. Any discussions?
None from me.
Okay.
None.
Roll call, please.
Mr.
We
Unger?
don't need roll. Yeah. Go.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Here?
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
Yes.
The Board of Trustees, we will adjourn for the executive sessions. We'll return. It's at 7 p.m., April 13th, year 2021. The Board of Trustees of Colerain Township convened for the meeting today. Mr. Baker, roll call, please.
Mr. Unger?
Here.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Here,
Mr. Waller?
Here.
please.
Mr. Rajagopal, there's nothing to report from executive session.
Okay.
Mr. Rajagopal, there's nothing to report from executive session.
Thank you. We have a motion to accept.
No, I don't think we need that.
We don't need that. Just start.
There's nothing to report.
Okay. Let us stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us stand and remain for a moment of meditation. Let us keep praying for our country and the peace and the prosperity for our country and the healthy. Keep us healthy from all this virus. Also, let us think about, meditate, and pray for the officers, firefighters, swearing in today to do the service for our great township. Thank you. Sit down, please. The next in the agenda is the fiscal office, approval of minutes.
Thank you, Board. I have two sets of minutes that I would like the Board to approve tonight. The first is the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees on March 9th, 2021.
I motion that we approve the March 9th, 2021 minutes.
I second it. Any discussions?
None.
Jeff, I had sent you a spelling correction.
It's been corrected.
Okay, thank you.
If no further discussions, roll call, please.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Waller?
Aye.
All right, I also have minutes of the special meeting of the Board of Trustees for March 23rd, 2021. I would ask the Board to approve.
I motion that we approve the minutes of the March 23rd meeting.
I second it. Any discussion?
None from me.
None.
None from me. Roll call, please.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Waller?
Aye.
That's all I have, Board.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. The next on the agenda is the presentations.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Rajgopal. Good evening. Good evening, board. We have several presentations this evening. The first two will be handled by Chief of the Department, Alan Walls, in our fire department. Mr. Walls.
Good evening to the board, those in attendance, and those watching from home. We had a swearing in that was planned for tonight, but we will not be doing that. We'll be postponing that until the 27th. But the second presentation is introduction and recognition of the 2020 Firefighters of the Year. And so some might think it's 2021. Why are we recognizing the 2020 Firefighters of the Year? And in essence, COVID played a bit of a spoiler for us. And so the chamber breakfast was canceled in September. Our appreciation luncheon in December was done a little bit virtually. So we waited for a more appropriate time to do this so that we could put some names to the faces. And so tonight, we're here to recognize 8 different persons and to provide some history here. In 1980, the department established its first fire investigation unit, which was only comprised of 1 team member. In 2013 then, under Chief Smith's tenure, the fire investigation team was reorganized to include 7 team members. In present day, it's comprised of 16, 14 being from the fire department and 2 being from the police department. And so we have a great collaborative arrangement and cooperative one with the police department when it comes to fire investigations here in the township. Each person who's selected for that team has to complete a 80-hour National Fire Protection Association 921 fire investigation class. They respond to investigation call-outs all hours of the day and night, weekends and holidays. They likewise have to attend required training classes to be an active member. Since 2018, with the help of the police department, the team's been successful with 9 prosecutions for arson fires set here in the township. As of today's date, the fire investigation team has 4 ongoing investigations. And so those here tonight to receive the 2020 Firefighter of the Year Award are our most active and involved team members and very deserving of the 2020 Firefighter of the Year Award. And so hopefully, persons have heard me say that we have a lot of extraordinary people who do a lot of extraordinary things. And so tonight, I want to recognize some of those so that we can put faces to the names who do extraordinary things. And so first up will be Captain Chris Root. Next will be Captain Mark Walsh.
Appreciate it.
Next is Lieutenant Eric Riefenberger. Next is Fire Inspector Jim Bowman. Next is firefighter paramedic Don Ongst. Next is firefighter paramedic Dustin Geiger. And firefighter EMT James Riley. And last, he couldn't be here with us tonight, firefighter paramedic Keith Peace. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Great group of guys. All right, the next presentation will be given by Chief Denney, and it's the swearing in of 3 officers.
We have 3 tonight. I was going to do them all together, but we have so many family members that
That's good, Chief.
we had 3 swearing in. We have 3 swearing ins tonight, and instead of doing them together, we would have violated
Yeah, we'll do it
the governor's
separately,
orders,
Chief.
so we're going to do them separately.
Yes, sir, sure.
First tonight is Eric Tricase. Eric comes to us from the Green Hills Police Department, where he served for 4.5 years. Eric also served in the United States Marine Corps, where he served for 8 years and was honorably discharged as a corporal. Eric is a graduate of St. Xavier High School. We won't hold that against him. And a graduate of the University of Cincinnati Police Academy. We're happy to have him. You want to introduce who you brought with you?
Mom and Dad in the first row, fiance in the middle, Grandma, her son Hunter, Haley, brother Dave, our mom and dad in the back.
And Grandma, you were going to stick him with the pin, right? Come on up. Raise your right hand, repeat after me. I repeat your name.
I, Eric Tricase,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
I will uphold the Constitution of the United States of America,
I will uphold the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the State of Ohio and its bylaws.
the Constitution of the State of Ohio and its bylaws.
I will abide by the Colerain Police Department mission and value statement,
I will abide by the Colerain Police Department mission values and statements,
code of ethics,
code of ethics,
rules and regulations,
rules and regulations,
and policy and procedure.
and policy and procedure.
I will faithfully discharge the duties of police officer
I'll faithfully discharge the duties of police officer
in and for Colerain Township,
in and for Colerain Township,
Hamilton County,
Hamilton County,
State of Ohio,
State of Ohio,
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
That's all we got.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Eric. Welcome aboard.
Thanks, sir.
A theme you'll notice tonight as we swear him in, all 3 are military veterans. So we've really been very successful finding good quality candidates that do well for us. from
It's
the
great,
military.
Chief.
We love it.
Great.
Amber Richardson previously served at the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office for the past 6 years, and she also worked for the Hamilton County Clerk of Courts. Amberly currently serves in the United States Army as a reserve as an E4 specialist. Amberly graduated from high school in Vernon, Alabama, so she found her way up north, and we're very happy to have found her. So if she wants to step forward. You want to introduce who you brought with you tonight?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Who I have with me are my friends and also partners who were with me for Hamilton County. You have Precious Parker, Jamila Durham, and Tasha Stanley, and her daughter, and my boyfriend, Adrian Burles.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I repeat your name.
I, Amberly Richardson,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
I will uphold the Constitution of the United States of America,
I will uphold the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the State of Ohio and its bylaws.
the Constitution of the State of Ohio and its
I will
bylaws.
abide by the Colerain Police Department mission and value statement,
I will abide by the Colerain Police Department mission and value statement,
code of ethics,
code of ethics,
rules and regulations,
rules and regulations,
policy and procedure.
and policy and procedure.
I will faithfully discharge the duties of police officer
I will faithfully discharge the duties of police officer
in and for Colerain Township,
in and for Colerain Township,
Hamilton County,
Hamilton County,
State of Ohio,
State of
to
Ohio,
the best of my ability.
to the best of my
So help me
ability,
God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard. So I have to ask, is it Auburn or Alabama for you?
Roll Tide, sir.
There you go.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congrats.
And another trend is we stole all three of these from other agencies too, so we're proud of that as well. Will Gaffney was employed with the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office for the past 8 years, and prior to that, Will served in the United States Marine Corps for 4 years and was honorably discharged as a sergeant. Graduated from Roger Bacon High School in the Great Oaks Police Academy. You want to introduce who you brought with you tonight?
I got my whole family. This is Sarah, and then that's Olivia right there in the front row. That's my dad and the boy, Aiden. That's my mom. And in the back row, there's Eli and Colton.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Will Gaffney,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
I will uphold the Constitution of the United States of America,
that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the State of Ohio and its bylaws.
the Constitution of the State of Ohio and its bylaws.
I will abide by the Colerain Police Department mission and value statement.
I'll abide by the Colerain mission and value statement,
Close enough. Code of ethics,
code of ethics,
rules and regulations,
rules, regulations,
and police department policy and procedure.
police department policy and procedure.
I will faithfully discharge the duties of police officer
I will faithfully discharge duties of the police officer
in and for Colerain Township,
in and for Colerain Township,
Hamilton County,
Hamilton County,
State of Ohio,
State of
to
Ohio,
the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Yeah.
Thank you, Board.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Chief.
Chief.
Thank you, Chief. These are so much fun, so that we're able to see in these moments that how bright the future is for our police and fire departments. It
You
really
got a
is.
great candidate, Chief. Great officers now.
Thanks, guys. Good to see you. Hey. Okay, the next presentation will be delivered by Mr. Jeff Weckbach, our Assistant Township Administrator, and he will be discussing our new, some updates to our transparency portal. However, we need to get it set up here.
Fingers crossed that it'll show up. It's not just yet.
Is it HDMI?
Oops.
Oh, here you go.
Should I? You want to turn it off and on again?
Yeah.
It worked at the last meeting.
Officers come on board, isn't it?
Well, in the meantime, in case this doesn't work, yeah, we can try that too. In case we're not able to get this up and running, there were a couple links that were referenced in the trustee packet. One of the things that we continue to do is try to find additional ways to get information out there to residents, and that's in a lot of different aspects. So we, as we were kind of huddling in what are some areas where we can continue to tell the story, thought, let's put together a report that looks at 2020. What are the things that we did during 2020? What are the most impactful data points from each department? And Jeff, now that we're up and live up there, if you want to maybe pop over real quick to the tab to the left. Yep, that one. Oh, right there. So this is a transparency portal additional story that we've put together. So it starts off with just sort of a overview from Jeff Mills talking about how this works. And then as you scroll through, we've got key data points with some narrative around them on what happened in 2020. And then Jeff, if you can click the link just below where it says administration department there's additional information for each individual department. So that page that we were looking at before and what's included in the packet has lots of key information about, high level for each department. But if you want to get into the nitty gritty, see how we did. Here you're going to see like our customer service scores. You're going to see how many business retention visits we did, all kinds of data. If you have questions, reach out to us, but it's all tied back to the strategic plan. So did we do what we thought we were going to do? And it's got a little bit of a report card there as well. So that's out there for the public to peruse. Another item that we want to hit on is how are we doing so far in 2021? And that's what this document here is. So it takes the strategic plan, really distills it down into some key areas, some key data points, provides updates on where we are on the plan. Have we started every initiative? Are we on track? Are we behind? And then it gets into the tough stuff. So, we say that we want to, grow our real estate investment. Are we doing that or not? And that's what that chart there would look at. Or the one below it is, are we hitting our target of having $25 million in annual investment? So far this year, we've been successful in that. And so there's this for each of the 6 key goal areas of the township, and this will get updated monthly, just like all of our other administrative reports and documents. And then in addition to this, we're currently working on, and hopefully we'll be rolling out soon, a financial platform which will have more financial information that's distilled to a higher level. So this is all out there for residents. And Jeff, if you maybe want to click on that chart right there. So this is something else that I don't know we spent a lot of time talking about when this first all rolled out, but clicking on a chart allows you to dive in a little further, see some more information. So right now we're looking at, what has our litter collection person that we hired done? And so if you dive in there, you're going to see how many signs they've picked up, how many per month, what day they've picked them up. There are notes in the table below that show where those items were. Bags of trash, tires, shopping carts, all kinds of different things. So there's a lot of information there, and we know that sometimes it's paralysis by analysis with data, and so that's what these stories are. And Jeff, if you hover over on the left-hand part of the screen there, you can see where there are all the reports that we have, but then also up there is where those stories are. So that takes you right to it. It lets you get to our administrative reports quickly. And so we thought, hey, let's put all this out there. Let's let you all as residents tell us how we're doing by just looking at our numbers. And so wanted to provide that update, and happy to answer any questions that you all may have.
Jeff, this very impressive presentation. And it tells all about a very important thing about 2021 strategic planning. I like the idea where we are, where we're going, and also you mentioned about in 2020 what accomplished and what need to be done. We hit very bad year 2020, and we still have that thrive going on. We're continuing with the 2021, and there is a great plan, like I've been telling you guys all along, and this is a very impressive plan. Now we have some guidelines, goals, where we're going to go. Very good, excellent job.
Thank you.
I concur. Thank you very much.
Okay, gentlemen, that concludes the presentations for this evening. And the next item on the agenda was citizens' address, and I just wanted to let the board know we received no emails to our Colerain TWP at colerain.org account or to any other account with citizens requesting to speak.
Jeff, and you can address it during the administrative report. I did receive an email from a resident that was looking for an update on the posting of our financials
Okay.
for January and February. I realize there's probably a 30-day drag because you need to wait for stuff to clear, but if you could address that during your administrative report.
Yep, you bet.
Great. Okay, then we're going to talk about the citizens address, and the board is going to make a decision on that, how we're going to do them citizen address next meeting.
That's
Okay.
Right. So, I didn't get any email from any citizens, any other trustees received any emails, citizens address?
Not specific to citizens' address.
Okay, all right, okay.
Okay.
All right, let's move on to administrative reports.
Yes, sir. We'll begin this evening with Chief Walls and the Fire Department Administrative Report.
Good evening once again to everybody. As you can see on the screen here, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the 13-year anniversary of the Squirrel's Nest Lane incident that claimed the lives of Captain Robert Brocksterman and firefighter Brian Shira. And so on Easter Sunday was our 13-year anniversary. There were some of us that met up there along with Robin's parents, and then had some fellowship at Station 102, and then parted the ways on Easter Sunday then with our families. An event of that magnitude there, affected families, the fire department, the community, and even the profession. And so, even though it's been 13 years, the sorrow, the regret, the pain, it goes away to some degree, but we essentially find ways to manage it. As far as this organization, this report right here is the culmination of almost 2 years of work, 400 and some pages that this organization undertook to find ways to try and prevent or lessen the possibility of this happening again, not just to us, but to the fire service profession. And within this report are over 50 findings and 70 some recommendations. And so we'll be doing strategic planning here, or we're in the process of strategic planning. And even though it's been 13 years, there are action items in here that could be included or will be included in parts of our strategic plan. And so, with that, those are the names and the faces of two persons, Captain Brocksterman and firefighter Shira, who sacrificed so much for this township. And those two words up there at the top are something that we should never do, and that's never forget. As far as the administrative report, we'll talk about our March activity. Our EMS incidents, we had 729. Our fire incidents, we had 202. And in the Springfield Township contract area, we had 19 responses. As far as major building fires, 8700 block of Weast Road, we had a $30,000 loss. That was detached garage. And then the 3200 block of Nandale Drive, Burgundy Court Apartments, we had a 2-alarm fire that, because of the size and scope of the building, the potential of loss of life and other buildings, those are very manpower intensive, and so we had assistance from Green Township, North College Hill, Cheviot, Mount Healthy, and Springfield Township. In addition, Whitewater Township covered Station 25 for us, and Fairfield sent a medic down to help cover part of the township. And actually, Whitewater Township's engine 105, ended up making a response for us for a motor vehicle crash with entrapment out on Brim Road. Our reported fire loss, the value lost was $228,850 for the month, but we saved approximately $519,350. Our average response time for the arrival of the first unit was 5 minutes and 20 seconds, and our first unit on the scene, less than 6 minutes, was 69.21%. Thank you.
Chief, I want to thank you for bringing all that great dedicated servicemen, recognize them for the service, and they build a fine department. I appreciate bringing them and doing that, this honor. Thank you.
Yeah, it's, I kind of tell people that I'm the least important person in the fire department, but the most responsible, because the buck stops here with me. And the faces and the names that you saw tonight, those are the extraordinary people who are out there doing extraordinary things for this township, so thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks, Chief. All right. Next, we have Chief Mark Denney and the administrative report from the police department this month.
Welcome, board. For the month of March, we responded to 3,804 calls for service. So that averages about 122 calls per day. We're trending over last year about 1,000 more calls than we had last year at this time. So I think as the pandemic is starting to open things back up, we're starting to pick back up in our activity as well. Response times to emergencies fell to 2 minutes and 20 seconds, which is fantastic. That's a number we watch very closely. And when you look at that chart, you see that the numbers are a little bit different there. We started really tracking just emergencies within the last few months before we would take all the calls for service and get that number. But there's so many calls in there that are not emergencies that could throw that number off. I really wanted to get a true measure of how we were responding to the important calls. So it takes a little more time to get to that number, but it's definitely a more accurate number that is more important to the people in the community, I think. Officers made 115 traffic stops with 11 OVI arrests, which is fantastic. That's way up, and again, the activity levels are picking up. We've removed some of the restrictions on the officers and allowed them to go back out and start making more traffic stops. So you're going to see an increase in those kind of arrests. Today we received notice from the Attorney General that Detective Joe Hendricks has attained the training to be considered a master criminal investigator, and that's in addition to his other designation as a master crime scene technician. So those are very rare to have either, but to have both of them is very rare. And it's a big thing for us to have somebody of that caliber responding to our important calls for service and our crimes. We have only the very best. And what's nice about that is Joe also teaches at the state level, and he also teaches our officers. But by teaching at the state level, we are able to earn about $10,000 worth of training that our officers can go to. So when we go to the state level for training, we're getting that at no cost to us. So it's a great trade-off, and the best way to learn something is to teach it. So Joe gets better, and then we get the benefit of being able to send more officers to training. So that was good news to get today. So we have about $9,290 in that account that allows us to send guys to training for no cost to our taxpayers.
Good.
Hey, Chief, thank you for building a great police department. The 3 police officers you sworn in today, very energetic, and they will do a great job for our township.
Alan said it very well. I think it was Ronald Reagan said, hire good people and get out of their way and let them do their jobs. So that's exactly what we do. We look for good people and we let them get out there and get it done. But thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you. Okay, the next administrative report will come from the Department of Public Services and Mrs. O'Connell.
Good evening. Mr. Whitebox stole some of my thunder with the...
Mike.
Mr. Weckbach stole some of my thunder with the litter report because he pulled that up earlier. In the month of March, our one litter picker, litter laborer, picked up 323 snipe signs, 18 large bags of trash, and 21 shopping carts. So that was just 1 month. So I can't wait to see what happens as the
And
summer.
and he is a part-time person.
He's a part-time person working no more than 20 hours a week.
Right, and we're still looking for a second person.
Hire him full-time.
Oh, but I think that's great.
Yeah, hire him full-time.
So, Mr. Baker, could you put that in the minutes, please?
Well, I don't know if he wants to work full-time, and that's a hard job to go around and
That's a lot of work.
pick people up. I noticed ODOT was out on 275 the last couple of days picking up trash. They're out there today, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, they've been all around the county.
We
Right.
can have that on the next agenda if you'd like, to make that a full-time position.
I'd see if he wants to be full-time. That's hard back-breaking
Sure.
work.
Yeah.
So I don't want to burn him out.
Okay.
So
Okay.
Yesterday we gave out 1,200 boxes of food for our final Farmers to Families food drive. And there's a couple of people I want to make sure to thank. I want to thank the police department, as always, for their great help with logistics, the Public Services Department for unloading the truck so efficiently, all the volunteers who came out to help. And last but not least, it's a woman I think I've only mentioned maybe once during all of this, is April Hoke with the Catholic Charities of Southwest Ohio. She is the woman who coordinates all of this, coordinates with the Free Store Food Bank for the food delivery, coordinates the volunteers, and she's the one who picks the sites. So without her picking us, we wouldn't have the opportunity to do what we do for the community. And she was very appreciative of the community and the help and just how great the people were coming through the line yesterday. So I wanted to make sure to give a shout out to April and the community for supporting it. Oh, and we gave out this 1,200 boxes of food in about 2.5 hours. So we are a fine-tuned machine now. The Fort Colerain Playground. So if you've been to Colerain Park, you have noticed there is some work going on that. We are due to have that installed by about mid-May, but we won't open it until June because we don't want to open it until the turf is set. Otherwise, we are never going to have grass in that playground. So we will. You'll see more and more going on there. There's going to be there's a fence now around the construction area, so please don't try to usurp the fence. But yeah, that's looking really good, and we're shaping up really good for that. And we've also got out there to the public for 5th grade and under. You can go to our website and look at it, and it's been on our social media. We are asking the kids to design a flag to fly over Fort Colerain. So it'll be a permanent mount flag over the fort as you go into the fort. So kids, check out the website, go on, give us your best drawing of what you think a Fort Colerain flag should look like. And last but not least, we are hiring seasonals. We are hiring camp counselors for our summer camp program, our summer playground program that's going to be in all of our parks this year, as well as park maintenance. So if you need your kid to get out of the house, you need your neighbor kid to find a job, sign them up.
Jackie, I just want to thank you for all the service you've done for hosting that food program. That was really benefit our community. And it's about this fifth time?
Yes.
Time? Yeah. You did a very successful job on hosting that event. And also I want to thank you, our park workers. I just started walking in a heritage park, and it looks immaculately clean and very beautiful. Thank them for me.
Thank you. Yes, and the food drive is definitely a team effort, so we got a good team.
Thank you. They're doing a great job.
We're finished now, I guess. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item is...
Turn on your mic.
Trustees report?
I'll
No,
take
he's still on the administrative report.
Yeah, sure. I'll take the admin report real quick. Mr. Unger asked about the financial reports. As you guys are aware, that's an item that is not a required report, and so it gets deprioritized when there is lots of work to do, and there has been a ton of work to do in the finance department. We are looking forward to hopefully the start of another employee in the finance department that was approved in this year's budget, and hopefully that will allow us to get caught up on those voluntary reports that we publish. So that's the answer to your question.
So right now, it's posted through the end of 2020.
Yes.
And we need to get January and February up, and I would figure that you couldn't really post anything until things had a chance to clear and come through. So
Right.
I would say that when we get that other person on board, there's probably still going to be a 30 to 45-day drag.
There's always going to be a lag.
But I certainly would like to get that January and February up there as soon as we can.
Absolutely.
And
I
then
agree.
by the end of April and hopefully March would be up there then too. So,
Absolutely.
okay.
Yep. We'll get going. And that's all I have for administrative report.
The next on the agenda is the trustees report. Gentleman, who wants to go first?
I'll go first, and I still get plenty of calls from citizens because I always say 404-3057 if you have something you want me to take a look at. And yes, we do have a little problem here in the township with folks that take appliances and trash and whatever and don't properly dispose of them. And that's what led this Board of Trustees late last year to come up with a plan, and we hired a litter person and were able to get a donated pickup truck. But that person's pretty much trying to stay within the right-of-way. And we do have some vacant properties that folks choose to get rid of their unusable former possessions on, and I would just ask that people quit doing that. And I know the people that do that are probably not watching this meeting, but we are working on it, and I'm sure the other trustees take that kind of stuff very seriously. I'm so pleased, Jackie, that our trash litter person is making great headway, and as I just pointed out to Mr. Mills, I've seen ODOT out on our on the highways that run through our township, doing cleanup. And the only other thing for my trustee report is I know we've talked about it, and I am as excited as can be that we are aiming to have our 4th of July fireworks. And I think people are really tired of shutdowns and stuff. That's an outdoor and open air environment, and hopefully we're able to pull that off, and I'm excited and looking forward to it. And those are my comments for this evening.
Thank you, Dan. You want to go ahead? Okay. I want to happy to announce actually that we've been working with the ODOT. We got the initial grant on the Colerain Avenue beautification. They got it already. I spoke to Tommy Arnold. They either hiring the consultant, starting that Colerain Avenue corridor project's part of it. That's a great news, and one day I want to invite them to our meeting, let them explain more about their plan. Also, I got a great news from the Metro president and CEO, the vice president. They're going to meet us next Monday, with the township official, Jeff Eckbach and Jackie and myself. I've been telling about this Metro, having a partnership with them last previous meetings. This time they actually offering a grant. I think Jackie's working on applying for the grant. What they're going to do, they're going to build that pull-out for Metro bus, so that'll reduce the traffic congestion going on Colerain Avenue, both sides. And not only they're going to build the pull-out, they're also adding the beautification around that area. We'll obviously put any type of trees, flowers, anything, so look good. And they're also going to install the trash cans, and also some places, the shelter. So another thing come up, we keep talking to them, they may be able to build a sidewalk because they help the handicapped people. If sidewalk necessary, if comfortable, they also offer the sidewalk. So it's a great thing, because we are 2020 projects, sidewalks. I saw a lot of sidewalks building up in Colerain. It's amazing, than what we thought. We initiated 2020, our sidewalk plan, and we're doing it. And we got, again, the partnership with Metro bus people, and we're going to meet with them next Monday, and also we are planning to take them a tour around the Colerain Township. So that's very good. Again, that Jeff is initiating also with congressmen about the earmark program, which Congress will park, how Colerain Avenue corridor will be part of the earmark. If that happens, it's going to help us a lot. So these are a few things I'm really excited about that. And also, our pickleball court, tennis court, are we still, people are asking me anytime I go and play somewhere.
Yes, we are working hard to bring pickleball to Colerain Township.
Huh?
We're working hard to bring that to Colerain Township.
Yeah, it's going to happen.
Yes.
Before this summer.
Right.
Jack, she's sitting there, she's writing down on a list. Okay, thank you very much, guys. And even when I was playing a couple of weeks ago, a few ladies playing up in Green Township's Centennial Place, we come all the way from Colerain to play here, and now people are asking, are we going to have sport places in Colerain Township? And we're going to do it. Thank you. That's all I like to say.
I have a question actually about your report on the Metro. With the, I had read one of their indications that they were going to put advertising on the shelters. Is that the case for the shelters they want to build here, or?
I actually, when I met with them a few weeks ago at their office, I went there. Mm-hmm. I asked a question. This is something that I explained to them. What type of advertisement? I don't know. We had the lawsuit we get it out. So something that we will talk about this
Okay.
when they come to the meeting next Monday.
Okay, great. I know that's a concern. That's a concern of mine, so.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Unger, Mr. Rajagopal, for your reports and for all the administrative reports. And I'm going to actually usually I say I'm going to keep it short and don't, but I will. Looking forward to a great summer, getting a lot of stuff done and being outside, having people back in meetings, and have a good evening. I did it. I'm able to do it.
Thank you, Matt. Appreciate all your help you're doing for the township. The next on the list, agenda is new business.
Yes, sir. We have a number of items in new business. The first will come from the police department, and Mr. Mark Denney will introduce the first couple.
Remember this time. A couple items. First is a motion to approve memorandum of understanding with the Fraternal Order of Police Blue Unit. It's for vacation time. This MOU is asked to hold Section 19 in abeyance through December 31st, 2021. With COVID and staffing levels, we made it very difficult for guys to get time off during the year, and they were worried they were going to lose some of that vacation time. This is just allowing us to extend that, the township's rule of ending it at the end of the year and let them carry it over.
I would motion that we approve the memorandum of understanding with the Fraternal Order of Police, the Blue Unit vacation time.
I'll second.
Any discussions?
No, I think that it's, as you said, a lot of our officers have not been able to take vacation because we need to maintain a staff, and if we have people go out because of COVID and vacations have gotten canceled, I think it's good to make sure everybody gets to use their time that they deserve and have earned.
Thank you.
Agree.
No other comments from
All
me.
right. Thank you, Dan. Go ahead, roll call, Mr. Baker.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Waller?
Aye.
Second item is the same, it's a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding with the Gold Unit, which is the Sergeant's Union. So it's the same request, and it's just for that other unit.
A motion to approve the memorandum of understanding with the Fraternal Order of Police Gold vacation time.
I will second it.
Any discussions?
And my comments would be the same as the first one.
Thank you. Mr. Baker, roll call, please.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Waller?
Aye.
Third item is a motion to approve a memorandum of understanding with the Fraternal Order of Police Gold Unit for sergeant's pay. This was during negotiations, some clerical errors and some version changes that left some items out that both sides had come to an agreement on, but did not get placed into the contract. So it was meant to be in the original contract, and both sides had come to an agreement on that. It is to set the rate of pay for probationary sergeants.
I'll motion to approve memorandum of understanding with Fraternal Order of Police Gold sergeant pay.
I second it. Any discussions?
No, none from me.
None.
Mr. Roll call, please, Mr. Baker.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Waller?
Aye.
Next item is asking the board to approve a motion for a noise permit for St. John the Baptist School for May 1st, 2021 from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m.
I'll motion to approve the noise permit for St. John's.
I approve it. I second it, sorry. I second it. Any discussions?
None.
None.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Waller?
Aye.
Next item is motion to purchase mobile data computers. These are the computers that the officers have in their police cars. The motion is to purchase 8 mobile data computers for our marked patrol fleet. This purchase will allow us to have terminals for our power shifts that will be coming up at the end of the summer, as well as supplement our existing inventory. Each terminal is $4,504.47 for a total cost of $36,035.76, and this was budgeted for in our 2021 budget.
A motion to purchase mobile data computers.
I second it. Any discussion?
None from me.
None.
Chief, this will be more effective tool for the officers to know the suspect or make any type of information they need.
It will allow us also to, instead of having 2 officers in a car when we do our power shift, we can separate them into individual cars, cover more area, and still have them have the ability to communicate with dispatch and get the information that they need. So it's really going to help us improve coverage on the road when we put those power shifts out.
Good. Thank you, Chief. Roll call, Mr. Baker, please.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Waller?
Aye.
And the final item is recommended adoption of a motion for a noise permit. This permit is requested for McDogg's Lakeside Saloon from May 1st, 2021 through October 1st, 2021. You'll note on the permit, they actually requested October 2nd. The resolution does not permit that, so we'll probably need to strike through that and make that the first, because otherwise it wouldn't be able to do that for them. And that's one of the blanket exceptions for the permits that allows them during that summer season to have a little extended time on the noise permits.
A motion to approve the noise permit, Chief mentioned.
Do we need to motion to amend it first? I motion that we would amend that October 2nd to October 1st.
I'll second that motion to amend.
And that doesn't preclude them from getting another permit to cover that day, so this doesn't put them in a position where they can't do what they need to do.
So we've motioned and seconded
Okay.
then.
Second, any discussion for that amendment?
None for me.
No.
Mr. Baker, roll call, please.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Waller?
Aye.
Thank you, Board.
So we need to.
Now a motion to approve the noise permit as amended.
Are you motioning for that, Matt?
Yeah.
I'll second Matt's motion to approve the permit as amended.
Okay. Any discussions?
Nope.
No.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Waller?
Aye.
Thank you, Board.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
The next item of new business comes from the Department of Public Services and will be presented by Mrs. O'Connell.
Mike.
I have before you tonight, gentlemen, the road program for 2021. At the last trustee meeting, you approved the list of roads and the bid. We got all the bids back, and we received 5 back. The lowest one was from Adlita Construction for $1,890,198.68. We received 4 other quotes beyond that, but Adlita has the lowest and best bid, meets all the requirements and the specifications, and they've worked with us before. So I would ask that you make a motion to authorize the Township Administrator to execute an agreement with Adlita Construction for the 2021 road program.
I motion that we would authorize the Township Administrator to execute an agreement with Adlita Construction for the 2021 road program. This Adlita's been around for a long time, and I think they'll do a good job.
Any further discussions?
And what was the variance between our budget and what this was? Do you know that offhand?
It was under our engineer's estimate by a little over $100,000.
Okay, so once they're done, if there's some change order or something to add on, we would still have a budgeted amount to cover that if we popped another street in there or
Yes,
something?
so we keep approximately 10% in a what's the word I'm looking for? A contingency.
Yeah.
I'm keeping a contingency. We keep a contingency just in case things like that come up. So we also are, so we have the contingency money to work with, and then we'll have whatever, if it comes in cheaper, and then we'll roll that into doing more streets based on our
Right,
priority list.
and I believe that there was a point I had contacted you about somebody who said, when's my street getting done? And I said, it's completely apolitical. And how does that come about? You make the decisions using your rating program, and the trustees have no input in it as far as, hey, do this street. So if something came up, I guess the next thing on your rating schedule would be the street that you might pop in there if you think it could get done.
Yeah, so we'll start and we'll look at the worst streets first, and we'll look at worst streets in their congruity to the other streets that are finished, so that we can finish out a subdivision and move on.
Right, okay.
Now, this complete list of streets, I thought I saw it in this packet. Was it in the last
It
packet?
was in the last packet,
Okay.
yes. It may have been in the contract too, it may be in the
Okay.
contract documents, but yeah.
Thank you.
And no other comments from me.
No.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Waller?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank you,
O'Connell.
Jackie.
Okay, the next items are from the Department of Planning and Zoning, and I'll go ahead and take those. The first is a motion to authorize the Township Administrator to execute an agreement with MuniReg for the administration of the township's vacant licensing programs. You'll recall, Board, that there have been presentations, and I guess, certainly the recommendation is to approve. And the way that I'm looking at this is as a, excuse me, as a test to see if this works. So, there's lots of different ways to provide great service. We believe that this option warrants taking a look at and trying. If at the term of the contract is only until December 31st of this year, if we get to the end of the contract period and we're not satisfied with the outcomes that we're getting, then we'll try something else. But I think that that it makes a lot of sense to try this at this time. Recommendation is to approve.
Do we have a motion?
I'll motion I'll motion to authorize the township administrator to execute an agreement with MuniReg for the administration of the township's vacant licensing program.
I second it. Any discussions?
Yes, as when we discussed this at a previous meeting, I only asked that somebody, you or I guess it would be you or your designee, would get the list of properties because everything eventually changes hands, and some of these properties are different than others. If there's an out-of-state owner, obviously, that we have trouble contacting, that would be what I see as a candidate for the vacant licensing program. If there's a situation where a business was shut down due to COVID and they're struggling and they had the location shut down until the governor says they can reopen at full strength, at this point in time, and you said it's just to the end of this year, I would want to make sure that somebody's reviewing that list because I don't want to be hunting people down. I don't know a better term than innocent parties that are struck by circumstance, but I just want to make sure that they are in full communication with you and we're not hunting people down because that's not what the intent is of this.
That's fair.
And I think I explained that to the gentleman that was here back last at a recent meeting.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm finished.
Matt,
Yeah, so I have a couple comments. So I've given more thought and consideration to this than I really would have thought I would have. I've come around a couple times on it. Excuse me. I think that the fact that it's kind of almost a pilot program, but I still feel that in where we're at now, we need to kind of set the playing field with them. I think that MuniReg's point was that our laws, our ordinances need some help before we start with this. So I guess I think that we, I intend to support it as a pilot, even though I've kind of been towards not supporting it, for the simple reason is let's see what it looks like. We have the benefit of time, and if we find that it's not as efficient as us doing it ourselves, then we'll make that decision at the end of the year. But I do want to make sure that we have everything that they need to be successful. And I think that's revamping some of the program, and I think that that's being, as Mr. Unger said, being fair, but also implementing what our laws are under home rule and things like that, and under zoning. So that's just a long answer of saying that I intend to support it as a trial run because, really if they give out zero, if they collect zero, we don't know a thing.
Right.
So, I think puts the onus on them in order to enforce this, and I think it gives them a reason to it, and they're professionals at doing that, and hopefully we can license more vacant properties than we have in the past.
Thank you, Matt. I really like the idea of it trying something. I'm a great believer of trying. I always taught my kids, try something, you can do better. We always try it. He's right. And I think this program comes under the beautification. The more sooner these people are capable of identifying all this vacant land, everything, and make it very productive. And this is also part of our 2021 strategic goals. Like I said, if it's successful, we'll keep them for next year. Appreciate that.
Okay, very good.
Any further discussions?
Mr. Mills, since it's a trial run, when is the kind of opt-out for next year? If it goes till December 31st, do we have a firm deadline so that we know we can circle back in time to?
That is a good question. Let me look real quick. In the term. Counterpart. Confidentiality, license, property, client obligations. No. Be terminated. This agreement may be terminated by either party with or without cause immediately upon 30 calendar days prior to written notice to the opposing party. This agreement will automatically terminate in the event that the Muni Regs authority to perform the services under the resolutions is withdrawn or is adversely modified in any material or respect. So we really do have the ability to end the contract.
Like next day if we want to, but 30 days if we want to be kind of fair about it, I think. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussions?
Not from me.
Danny, want to say something?
No, nothing else, Raj.
Okay. Roll call, please, Mr. Baker.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Wall?
All right.
Thank you, Board. The next item is the resolution declaring nuisance and ordering abatement. Recommendation is to adopt this resolution. This is our monthly or bi-weekly nuisance abatement resolution. And this week, there are the following properties on the resolution: 3001 Niagara, 2557 Niagara, 8944 Pippin, 3060 Windsong, 2448 Roosevelt, and 2448 Roosevelt, an alternate parcel on the same with the same address, and 10141 Menominee. The recommendation is to adopt the resolution.
We have a motion to,
I would motion we declare nuisance and order abatement of the properties Mr. Mills has listed.
I second it. Any discussions?
Not from me.
None?
Mr. Baker, roll call, please.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Waller?
Aye.
Thank you, Board. The next several items are from the Administration Department, and the first one is a motion to modify in-person citizen participation due to COVID-19. So back in July of 2020, nope, that's not. So last year, the Board of Trustees adopted guidelines for citizen participation at public meetings and boards and commissions. At that time, the board tied citizen participation to the Public Health Advisory Alert System that's set up by the state of Ohio. And specifically, the designated alert levels. We're all familiar with yellow, orange, red, and purple by now. However, originally, the alert levels at the state were tied to the number of indicators that were met from the state. That changed over time. And so you all had asked staff to review and evaluate how we have citizen participation. In consultation with Captain Packer, who's our EMS captain and a pretty integral part of our COVID response team, he recommended going back to that original alert level, which was if there are 0 or 1 alert indicators triggered, then we are at alert level yellow. If there are 2 or 3, then we'd be at orange. If there are 4 or 5, we'd be at red. 6 or 7 would be at purple. And there are corresponding rules for what we should be doing in those different alert levels. Now, I understand that there is interest on the board's part in detaching ourselves from these alert levels. So if the board says tonight, we want to open back up, we want to do it safely, we'll make that happen. But the recommendation from the COVID team here internally is to stick with a modified version of how we're doing it right now. So make it easier, make it come back faster, but that was the staff recommendation. However, we understand that if you guys want to open back up, we will open back up.
So I thank you for the staff recommendation, and I guess I'm to the point where it's the,
Take a motion first.
oh, yeah, so,
It's just discussion, isn't it?
A motion has not been made.
okay, I'll motion to adopt the modify in-person citizen participation due to COVID-19. Thank you, Mr. Rajagopal.
Okay, I second it. Discussion, please.
So for me, the third paragraph can safely hold and socially distance up to 40 people. In the event more than 40 people attend the meeting, the trustee can open up rotunda and set up an exterior system to allow more systems, more people to watch. I mean, I think that we need to, I'm one of those people that want to leave the alert system. I want people in here. I think that we're going to have to, people won't like it, but they're going to have to be masked for now. And if we get more than 40 people, we're going to have an overflow. But I'm for that second and third paragraph, kind of just opening up under those circumstances. And, right now you have Indiana and Michigan that are achieving some really scary numbers of hospitalizations. And if we see that in Ohio, we go back and look at it. At the time when I voted yes, that was really the only way to kind of measure these things. Now I think we know a little bit more about it, and a little bit. I think that we can be a little bit more proactive, and that's so my point, my perspective on it is let's open it up with the 40 that can attend, and socially distance, and we'll set the rules of wearing a mask. And if you're 41, I'm sorry. Get here earlier. No offense to that 41st person, but we're stretching it, I think, to put the 40 in and abandon the alert level systems.
Back on July 28th, or whatever that meeting was in July that we voted on this, I voted no on the restrictions, and I've just always weighed that against the right of people to watch their government in action. And I've gone along with the rest of the board, and we've done it this way and not had people in the audience. I am for having people in the audience, and if 40 is the number that we can safely socially distance, because I've gone up and down the aisles at the grocery store. I've been everywhere else, and they have folks in there. Where I attend church at, we're socially distanced there, and it's gone quite well since we reopened about the time that the township closed off the meeting. So I'd be in favor of allowing people to attend the meetings and follow the protocols. We would have to discuss the rules for that. You must physically be here in person, no saving seats or things like, I can't have somebody come in and save 5 seats for 4 other people that aren't here, so you would have to be here in person. I mean, I'm sure we'd have to work out the details a little bit, but, I just think that the longer you keep people out of meetings, the more problems we're gonna have, and it's important that people can come in and participate in their local government. So that's kind of where I'm at on this.
Jeff, when you talking about 40 people, are we in the chamber or the
Yes.
whole area?
So if you count these chairs, these would be the number of chairs that we'd be able to safely have. I believe it's 4. It seems less.
Well, there's 24 chairs set up right now.
Right.
So would you put another row in, or?
It's the ability to keep everybody 6 feet apart. That's what we're trying to
Right.
do here. So
So if you put 6 feet apart, each people, we still can house, including us, staff and everything, 40 people in whole.
I'm not, yeah, maybe. I think maybe, so a motion was made, and you guys have been discussing the recommendation here. I don't know if you want to withdraw your motion and then make a new motion?
To change the number to how many chairs we can fit in the room, or?
Yes, because what you guys have recommended, you made a motion based on what was in the staff recommendation. And I'm getting the sense that you disagree with staff recommendation, which is fine. And so what you really want to do is allow everyone to come back in socially distance, and mask, right?
Right.
And so I would recommend withdrawing the original motion and making a new motion to that effect.
Today, we're going to make a new motion.
Okay, so I'll withdraw, since it was my motion, I'll withdraw the motion to adopt, to modify in-person citizen participation due to COVID-19, and I'll make the motion instead to modify in-person citizen participation to allow 40 people, including trustees and staff.
Maybe as many chairs
No,
as we can fit
as,
in here.
instead of exact number, 40, with the 6 feet apart, how many people hold, this area? So we'll keep that as a vacant number.
Yeah,
We give it to the, fire department or whatever they designate. So in the essence, we allow people to come in to comply with the 6 feet distance, which this room can hold,
yes.
okay?
The maximum number of people that this room can hold while maintaining a
Maintain
6 foot
the meeting,
distance and mask.
if they want to wait outside, rotunda, that's privilege. Then when the people leave,
Yeah.
after they speak, then other person can come in.
Sure.
And I do agree with Mr. Unger that this idea of one person coming in and taking 9 chairs, I think that could end up being,
No, he said about at least 20.
Right, we
See,
need to-
we still need to follow the governor's order or regulations, which it may cause, if you violate that rule in the future funding for the emergency COVID, anything, it will affect.
The governor has recently relaxed a number of his state orders, and so I think that this would still be in keeping with the governor's orders, which you are proposing to keep everybody distanced, require masks, have as many people in here as possible while maintaining 6 feet of distance. I think that would be in compliance with the governor's new order from April, I think it was 8th.
Okay,
So just recently.
and I do want to add what Mr. Unger suggested too, that you have to be here. You don't get 4 seats.
right.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, because
I agree with that.
yeah.
I agree with that.
No so-called saving seats or
Yeah.
anything.
So this motion, Matt, is, but not, people can come in, we are not restricting, limiting 40 people, right? What other place accomplish? Fill the place.
There's no set number. You're telling there's no set number, it's
No
just
set numbers.
a matter of how many, I guess,
Yeah.
Mr. Packer, then.
Yeah.
You okay with that?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay.
How we got the 40 here.
Yeah.
But,
Mr. Well, he's okay with that.
How the COVID team would go ahead and set up the trustee room.
Okay, all right, okay?
okay, so I'm clear on the motion that you're making, Matt. It sounds to me like the motion is, Trustee Wallet, it sounds to me like the motion is to modify in-person citizen participation by allowing as many people into the room as possible while still maintaining 6 feet of distance and also requiring masks.
Yes.
Okay.
Fine,
Safe seat thing, too.
okay?
And no saving seats. Okay.
I can't believe we're adding no safe seats.
Well,
But
I can see where somebody
Oh,
come in and
sure.
grab 5 of them.
yeah, I agree.
So you physically have to be here.
So there's a motion. I'm not sure that there's a second, though.
I will second Matt's motion.
Okay, we finished discussions, no, on the topic? Okay.
Matt's new motion.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay. A roll call, please. Mr. Baker?
Mr. Unger,
Aye?
Mr. Rajagopal,
Aye,
Mr. Wallace.
All right.
Very good. Thank you, board.
Thank
the
you.
next
Great.
thank you.
That's great, thanks.
Yeah. Yep. We'll get it taken care of. And we'll communicate that via Circle and get the word out that
Sure,
policy
thank
has been
you.
changed. Okay.
Start from next meeting.
Yes.
Good,
Which will
thank
be
you.
April 27th.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. The next item is resolution authorizing the township administrator to enter into an agreement with Rumpke for solid waste and recycling, and this will be presented by Mr. Jeff Weckbach.
So as background on this, I think we've been discussing the residential solid waste and recycling contract for the past roughly year at different trustee meetings. After the township went out and received bids, the bids came back from one bidder, which was Rumpke. Their introductory rate for the first year is $17.55, which is consistent with what the rate is today. The only difference that residents would see in rates moving forward would be an additional 10-cent per month charge for Cost Management Alliances for their work in administering the RFP process, as well as the customer service work that they will be doing on behalf of the township moving forward. And some of that work would include facilitating any suspension of service, any opt-outs that may occur. It will include any resident billing questions and issues. Right now, if residents have billing questions and issues, we can advise them on who to call with Rumpke, but we're not actually advocating to correct those issues. That would be not Energy Alliances, but Cost Management Alliance's role in this contract. And so wanted to provide that as perspective, and I recommend adoption of the resolution.
I would motion that we authorize our administrator to enter into agreement with Rumpke for residential solid waste and recycling.
I second it. Any discussions?
Sure. I've lived here my whole life, and I had Rumpke service my whole life, and they do provide great service. And in fact, I'm sure there's a small minority out there that do not know that we host their landfill. It's up on Struble Road, just north of Struble, bounded to the west by US 27, it's recently crossed over Hughes Road, and to the north by Bank Road. And so as far as getting bids, I mean, we are the closest. The last couple miles to the sanitary landfill is through Colerain Township. So Rumpke's able to provide us, a low bid for service as compared to some other municipalities around here. I'm not necessarily so much about having a contract with them, but if not, and I've called around to some other townships such as Green, where they don't have an agreement with Rumpke, and the service over in Green, the 3-month bill is $60.36 for 3 months. My bill at home, which I pay, because the three of us and Mr. Baker, who all live here in the township, are paying these rates. My current bill is about $53.20, it seems. And so right now, I am $7 a quarter less than Green. So that's $28 a year less than I'm paying for an area that has no contract. In fact, if you get all the way to year 5 in this proposal, I'm still not at $60.36, and that even includes the $1.20 or 10 cents a month for 12 months fee. So even after the 5th year, we're still $3 lower than Green is today. And so I think there's a benefit to having a price. If we didn't, I think there would be a drop-off in probably of maybe 5 to 10% of their customers, because people seem happy with them. I am. When there's a drop-off in recycling, then you're going to have more materials ending up in the landfill, and that's obviously been a hot topic of debate for years, is outgrowing the landfill and the expansion. And I have toured the recycling center in St. Bernard, and they process a lot of recyclable materials, and that seems to be the trend nowadays, and it's a good trend that you try to reuse what's out there. As before this current contract, my neighbor had another vendor picking up at his house, and there were 2 big heavy trucks coming down our street. Our township streets take some wear and tear from cars, but school buses and trucks are what causes the most wear on roads and streets, just because of the weight of the vehicle. So by limiting the truck traffic, that helps the condition of our streets. And if you don't believe that, go down any street or apartment complex or shopping center parking lot at night and shine your headlights across the dark pavement, and you will see the wear marks from where service trucks, delivery trucks, trash service trucks go in and out. Trucks do a lot of wear on our streets, and as Jackie can tell you, that's an issue. Currently, I believe that the township owns all of the green cans. So we've got 18,000 cans that we've accumulated over the last 5 years that are out there, and it's and I'd have to take another look at my bill. I think we're renting the brown cans. So right now, everybody's got a nice trash container. And I think one other thing that the previous contract had, and this one does too, is there's a limitation as to the hours that Rumpke can operate. And I know that my trash guy at Rumpke before this contract was showing up around 3:45 in the morning, which was fine. I lived on Blue Rock Road at the time, but I would hear him and it would wake you up, and it didn't bother me because that's the safest time to be on a busy road is in the middle of the night. But without a contract, the hours of operation limitations go away, and you're going to hear trucks at 2, 3, 4 in the morning, and then that becomes a police violating the peace issue. So I think things seem to be running pretty smooth right now. With this contract, we're still lower than Green is 5 years from now. So that's kind of where I'm at on it. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dan. Matt?
Oh, you can go ahead.
All right. Before I come to the meeting, make a decision on this motion and the contract, I did a lot of research and called out several townships, like Dan mentioned about Green Township. They got 2 service, and the other, they had to pay recycling separate themselves. And I did live in Green Township. I saw that it's constant noises coming from the trucks, like what Dan mentioned, in the or nighttime, evening time. Once Rumpke goes, the other is called Green something. The trucks come back in a couple of days. Then they have the recycling trucks comes again. There's no pattern, nothing like that. It's very nuisance. Then I called other townships, Sycamore Township, Sims Township, and some other people. I did my own research. They all have Rumpke. They are very happy with the Rumpke service. And yet, Sims Township paying more than Colerain Township. Okay, now I look at the price of this contract. Ours is cheaper, a lot cheaper, And the best thing about this, the Rumpke recycling program, is they're adding more recyclable items, and they're becoming a big innovator in the recycling process. That's something I really want to support. They keep the environment safe. And this is something that other places paying for the recycling. So here, the recycling is included in the price. See, some other township, if they pay for the solid waste collection, the garbage collection, also they got to pay for the recycling thing. And Sims Township, they do it once in 2 weeks recycling, once in 2 weeks. Here they do it once a week. It's a lot of winner situation. And again, the recycling is, we got to keep our environment safe and clean, and they are becoming an innovator on this field. They also make the gas energy, from the recycling materials, and they're selling the gas to the Duke Energy. And also the Colerain Township also benefit from the Rumpke also. We get so much, I don't know how much money we get from a year from Rumpke. Something 2.5 million, something like that, close to it. So they also do a lot of community, involved in a lot of community programs. So I think it is a good idea to keep a contract with Rumpke.
You finished?
Okay, any further?
Yeah. So I'm a little unclear. Let's go through cost management alliances. Maybe you can walk me through kind of, because we at first engaged them here at the township to take the bids and negotiate the bids, and there was no cost to that, to Colerain Township or Springfield, I would imagine. But now they're being included as administering customer service for this 10 cent per month. So who do they represent in this? Do they represent the Colerain Township resident, or do they represent Rumpke?
So the idea would be that they're representing the resident. So resident comes to Cost Management Alliances, says, hey, I've got my own card at my house. Why is Rumpke charging me $250 a month for rentals when it's my own? well, they'll be able to intervene and help the resident to get that billing issue rectified, as opposed to the resident having to go through all of the hoops with customer service and what have you, which may or may not be as effective.
So I guess I'm unclear, and it might just be ignorance on my part. How did cost management get in the middle of all this? It's kind of, I mean, if they were going to represent if they're going to represent the citizens of Colerain, it kind of feels like somebody should make that decision.
Well, there was an agreement that I believe was on a prior trustee agenda, and I'll have to pull that up.
Right,
to
it
read
was
through
for them to negotiate, but I don't believe it spoke on customer service. In fact, it said after this negotiation that this relationship is I don't know, it's something to it didn't say severed, but that there's no further beyond this relationship.
Sure. I know that the contract that we had entered into them had mentioned that the successful bidder would be the one that would pay them for their services in terms of negotiating the contract and what have you.
Right.
I believe that the contract contemplates a letter of agreement, probably with Rumpke as well, to outline these roles and the understanding. But I can certainly try to check into that while we're here discussing it.
And I guess that, you know, it's 10 cents. I know, I get that. I mean, but the idea that it's passed on to the citizen, I guess I have a little bit of fundamental issue with that, even though it's 10 cents. Now, on the other hand, part of this calculus, much people have mentioned, is that if you look at the rates, Anderson pays more, Delhi pays more, Crosby pays way more. I don't know what they're doing. Green pays more, Harrison Township pays more, Sycamore Township pays more, Sims Township pays more, Whitewater Township pays slightly less, but doesn't include the recycling, I believe. So there is a benefit for the price. So that's part of this that's weighed. And I guess my third issue with is the opt-out program. So we have the opt-out that you can prove you dispose your trash at your place of employment. I mean, that asks for like a certified letter. I don't think anybody's going to go to their workplace and get a certified letter. Agriculturally designated CAUV properties, that's a definitional issue. But to suspend up for 6 months. So I can call and I can suspend if I want to opt out completely, and I don't want to get a signed notarized letter from work or something, and this isn't me because I'm happy with my service, but I also understand that the market determines these things. I can call up and suspend it for 6 months. At the end of 6 months, can I suspend it again?
Well, I believe that there are some forms that the resident would have to fill out. The intent is for that to cover snowbirding, so folks that don't live and don't have any service in the area at all. And so we'd probably be running into issues if it's found that a resident is actually, say, hiring a guy with a pickup truck to go take their waste while they're still living there, which would then create probably an issue with the contract.
Okay, so if unless I can get rid of it at my place of employment, there's not an opt-out. There's an opt-out, but it's very difficult for
right
average citizen to meet.
And at the end of the day, when I look at this issue as a whole, there really is that main policy issue here. It's sacrificing the choice for the saving of the dollars for the entire township. And so that's sort of the policy strings that are being pulled. Is the choice of vendor more important than the extra dollars that you're likely going to pay if the vendor isn't in a sole agreement?
And that's difficult for me to monetize because I don't have any other bids. They were the sole bidder, which suggests that most people feel that they're not going to be able to compete with their price, or I don't. So that okay, all right. Well, that. Okay. So okay. I think that handles my questions on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Any further discussions?
None from me.
Okay.
No.
Roll call, please, Mr. Baker.
Mr. Unger.
Aye.
Mr. Rajgopal.
Aye.
Mr. Waller.
Aye.
Thank you, Board.
Thank you.
Thank you, Board. The next item on the agenda is a resolution authorizing a modification to the organizational chart. With turnover that we've experienced in our planning department, we are looking to restructure the way that we provide the outstanding development service that residents come to expect. I wanted to point out a couple of modifications that we're proposing to the organizational chart. The first one has to do with how we provide code enforcement service. Our recommendation is to take our existing code enforcement staff and relocate them from a planning department into the police department. They would report to an administrative sergeant, along with our new environmental crimes task force police officer, who should be getting started in the coming month or so. That would be located in the patrol division of our police department, and we believe that by co-locating our code enforcement with our environmental crimes task force in our police department, we'll be able to get better outcomes. So that's one change that's being made here. The other change is rather than having a Department of Planning and Zoning, the direction that I've received from the board is that you are prioritizing development, and it is my opinion that zoning is in service of good development. And so the idea is to create a development department with so eliminate the director of planning and zoning role, create a development department with a director of development. Below that director of development would be a zoning administrator. That zoning administrator would, so the director of development would get up every day thinking about how to, the only thing they're thinking about is how to increase economic development in the township, which aligns with our strategic plan for this year. The zoning administrator would be doing what I call the blocking and tackling of planning. They're taking in permits and reviewing those against our zoning resolution. They are staffing our zoning commission and our board of zoning appeals. And then the third position in the Department of Development would be a development officer role, and that is a role that is I think of more as an entry level or a beginning of career type of role. Somebody, the successful candidate there, I believe, would have strong GIS skills and design skills and have a background in either economic development or planning. Those are the recommendations for the modification of the organizational chart. And so the staff recommendation is to approve that along with the job descriptions that were included in the trustees packet.
I'll move to authorize the organizational chart modification.
I second it. Any discussions?
I do have, do you want me?
Go ahead, Mike.
Okay. So a couple things, Mr. Mills. So, yeah, that's what we want, but we're not, I guess that's what we've indicated to you on separate occasions, but we're not doing the hiring. Does the market allow for what we want? I mean, can it be done within the job market, I guess?
I hope so. I think so. I think that there's talent out there. As it relates to budget, this is a budget neutral endeavor, so it wouldn't add to our budget, it would not add to our employee count. It just reassigns focus.
Right. So, for instance, the zoning administrator would be certainly a step down from a zoning department. Is that something that within our pay bands that we're still competitive with an administrator?
I think so. So the pay levels would likely be somewhere in the 40s for the development officer, somewhere in the 60s for the zoning administrator, and probably somewhere in the 80s for the department director.
So with the zoning administrator position, well, obviously the buck stops with you and Mr. Weckbach, but the immediate supervisor is the director of development under this plan.
Yes.
So the director of development would, point of fact, need to also have some zoning administrative experience as well.
That would be great. And yes, that would be fantastic if we could find that.
Okay, the other thing, and I know I've spoken to you a number of times about this, and I love the idea of somebody waking up in the morning wanting economic development, but I think it's very crucial that this board decide through with that, whoever that new employee is, and with administration and with citizens, what economic development looks like.
Yep.
I don't know that, if I say draw a picture of economic development, there are 10 people in here, we might come up with 10 different pictures, which will kind of stall the process. So I think it's very important, I guess, I want to stress going forward that I think that should be a discussion that involves all stakeholders.
Yep.
And And you've already indicated this is a budget neutral
Yes.
position.
That's my hope and expectation. And I did notice that there's one mistake that's made on this org chart that's been published. It says under me, it says would also be the development director, and that'll be removed. I would not be the development
That's
director.
exactly what I asked you. I thought your position is administrator / development director. So you're going to remove that.
Yes, I
So
will.
you'll be solely
Yes.
administrative.
Yes, because Frank, and being very honest with myself and with you all, I love doing economic development. It is what I am passionate about doing. But I can't do both. I've come to the realization that I cannot give the attention that is needed to economic development while at the same time being the administrator. And it's unfortunate because I love doing that work, and I'll certainly work closely with the director of development, but I think that this is better for the township to have somebody that is solely focused on economic development every day.
And I just had one more question. With the property enforcement and stuff becoming part of the police department, code enforcement, police department, that model's used. I mean, obviously, where I came from in North Cottage Hill, that model's used. City of Cincinnati,
Okay.
do they use that?
No, they have the building department has inspectors and code enforcement officers.
And they have inspectors to inspect the inspectors.
Yeah.
So what are I guess in a quick kind of Cliff's Notes version, maybe the 2 or 3 pluses to go into this model, and maybe one potential pitfall that we need to watch for?
Well, let's see, pluses for the code enforcement in particular.
As part of the police department.
Yeah, well, I think that you get alignment. You get alignment with the environmental crimes investigator and with the code enforcement. So the environmental crimes investigator is going to spend a great deal of time investigating dumping, tire dumping. They're going to be focused on that. And if they are co-located with our codes team, I think that there's some gains that can be achieved there.
And that's something that comes out of the recycling dollars,
Yes,
which we just discussed with our last agenda item.
right? And
So in other words, if you have this code enforcement officer in with the police department, in with the code enforcement and the police officer, at their briefings, they could be, hey,
yes.
we're trying to cut down on illegal dump sites. If you see something, let us know, or if you, so that everybody is looking for the same thing.
That's right. Yep. I think also, it's a model. So, I've been watching this very closely since 2012. We have had a number of different attempts at providing high quality code enforcement. And this is, I think that we've gotten much better over time. It has never been better than it is right now.
Agreed.
That's a testament to a lot of hardworking people. I think that this takes it to the next level. I think that this gives it the credibility and additional resources. The other thing is Sergeant Penley would likely be the supervising sergeant. Sergeant Penley is no stranger to code enforcement, and he's got a lot of experience with this, and he's great at it. We'll have to see. So you said, what are some pitfalls that we need to be looking out for? We are in the middle of implementing new technology for monitoring and driving all of our code enforcement work. So currently we use CSR, which is a tool that we get from Cages. We're in the right smack dab in the middle of converting to OpenGov. That transition is going to be critical, and making sure that everybody knows how this thing works, and to make sure that the software continues to work. That's going to be very critical in the coming months.
Okay, I appreciate your candor on that, and I think that those points are well taken, especially with some of the pitfalls. I just don't want the two. I want them to share an institutional goal and not trip over each other, right. So to speak, and silo certain things. And it sounds like that's something that we're cognizant of going forward. So I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
I want to ask, Chief, how do the police officers feels about code enforcement joining the
I think there's a lot of excitement about it, because a lot of the functions of code enforcement fall to the officers anyway.
Yeah.
And there's always this gap of what do we do with this information, or who do we give it to?
Good.
And honestly, we don't know what the other side does, and I think this is gonna give us a great opportunity, and
Yes.
Jeff hit it, is to really synergize what we're doing. Instead of going in 20 different directions, why don't we focus on what the real issue is, throw all of our resources at it and get it fixed. So I think having that function within the police department, they're very excited about it. It's gonna give us the ability to give some of that workload that the patrol officers are doing and not really getting anywhere.
Right.
Instead of wasting our time with that, let's give it to the right people who can get it done.
So there is a communication radio between court officers of police. You're going to set up all those communications.
They're gonna work right next to each other, and yeah, and maybe a pitfall is gonna be learning how to work with one another, but I think that should go
It takes
pretty
time
quickly.
to
With
adjust.
Jamie in charge, it's not gonna be an issue, but,
Yeah.
and there'll be things that pop up we didn't think about, but I think especially Jamie's very good at figuring out ways of solving those problems, and I think it's
This will
gonna be a
work
good
pretty
time.
good, Chief, because we got the law enforcement officer working with, and he's got a radio communication with the fellow other beat officers on the township, and other court officers working along. I think this is going to be a successful program.
Yeah, I'm excited about
You
it.
know, enforcing it. Now, we got to focus on the business people, because business people feel like they're getting away. They're the biggest polluters too. I called Jeff the other day about the Thornton gas station in Colerain and Galbraith they're known for dumping ground that forefront. So is the donor shop near the Ronald Reagan ramp. So I think how impact it will create organizing this kind of units to attack, faces the business people,
Absolutely agree.
It'll be quick reactive measure,
Yeah, and I think that one of the great things about our police department is that they know how to work with businesses, and I think that when a police officer comes in and says, this litter needs to be picked up, I think that it'll get attention.
Yes,
and
yes,
and so another synergy that as we're sitting here talking about it, that line in the sand between junk vehicle and lawn parking, and is it on the street? Is it in the right of way, or is it in private property? That is going to be helped a whole lot here by co-locating in the police department, because it's one unit that's going to be
Well,
responding.
I think it's a benefit to the resident, because a lot of the officers don't know the zoning regulations, so they say, well, why don't you call zoning Monday? So instead of telling our residents to go do something, we can take care of this, and we've got it.
Yeah.
We're not pushing them off to do something else. We've got the issue, we'll take care of it. So, and Jeff and I have talked for years about how crime and disorder and zoning all go hand in hand anyway. This makes sense.
Definitely.
If it looks run down, it tends to have crime there, and it gets worse. So I think this is a great idea.
So we still let the business ordinance, for littering, responsible for the business.
Yeah.
We still have the township has the ordinance. They can cite them on that.
The resolution. So it's one of those things where with businesses, they are oftentimes the victim of a crime, but responsible for the cleanup of it, right? So if somebody dumps something on a business, they are the victim of the crime, but our resolution holds them accountable for cleaning it up. And so, we've got to, that's why it's sort of a delicate thing, because we don't want to go in and say, you're a bad person because you allowed this to happen. A lot of times they're like, thanks for telling me, I didn't know, I will get out and take care of it. The other thing to consider is there's a difference between the business that's there and the property owner. And let's be clear, it's the property owner who is responsible. And so, it may not be the business, in fact. And so if we cite somebody to court, it's the property owner, not the Dunkin' Donuts, or not the, if Dunkin's leasing or something, you know what I mean? So it gets complex, and so when it comes to businesses, our approach is to take a partnership role, say, look, this is the expectation in our community is the bar is set this high, you have to maintain a clean property.
So we talked about this few meetings also. There are a lot of abandoned along the Colerain Avenue, the property, the businesses. Yet they're the target for the litter throwing, people throwing. That's become a sore thumb to look at it. So how are you going to cite whoever owned the property?
Yes.
You're right. There's some business people are very nice. When we did that big cleaning a few weeks ago, the McDonald's, I went very bad. Then I was cleaning, actually, me and my wife, that area, the bus stop. I went to the McDonald's manager, ma'am, I identify myself. See if you can, allow somebody, have one of our workers clean, keep this clean. She's very nice.
Yes.
Even the Dunkin' Donuts people talk to the manager
Yep.
during the day. They're very nice. As long as we constantly reminding them, once they get the habit of cleaning,
Yes.
then they'll put in a routine. The McDonald's manager said, we have a maintenance guys do that. So we got to get a little bit more aggressive
Yep.
on the business people also. I know we're going after the residents. I think the program we're trying is going to take off. I strongly
I
believe
think the
that.
accountability part of that's going to be helpful too.
Yeah,
when you-
yeah,
when you've
it's
got it all
slowly,
to kind of check.
that comes under our 2021 strategic planning, beautification, clean, and economic development. We're all on the same goals. And other thing, I want to, looking at the chart, Jeff, see, you got the administrator. Is it one-person team? How are you going to handle the whole process, zoning permit, everything? Will you have assistants?
So no permits. So permits and zoning commission and BZA would be handled by one person, but that's all that they would do is zoning permits, zoning commission and BZA, and that's frankly that's been done by a number of that workload has been done by a number of employees. Most recently, Jesse Urbancic did a lot of that.
Yeah, previously, just before, when Mike Iona was still there, and you kind of organized it, Mike Iona as administrator doing zoning, then you have a Taylor, you kind of asked her to do the development, right?
So,
You did for the trial basis, so how this going to work?
yeah. So I'm sorry. Say what was your question?
As you reorganize it, it'll.
Yeah. No, it's a workload that is accomplishable, and I can say that from personal experience because I did it. So I was that person for several years here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know the workload very well.
So, like I said, in the budgetary process, there won't be more money in this organization.
No, I don't believe that it'll increase salary
Matt
costs.
Ross
Yeah,
asked,
I don't think that it will. I think it's budget neutral, which is another nice part of this.
Good, yeah. Thank you, Jeff.
Yes, sir.
I'd just like to remind people with the last 2 or 3 agenda items that the problem of litter and zoning violations is not unique to Colerain Township. In my day work, I get around all over town, and you can go over in Montgomery and up off Pfeiffer Road and in Sharonville and in Springdale and all sorts of places. And in the city of Cincinnati, the litter's a problem everywhere. I think we are attacking it very proactively, and I think the addition of the specified litter picker-up crew and the other things we're doing have made a huge impact, and I actually think Colerain Township is getting better than a lot of other places. And I'm not sure what their programs are, but I see how all this is coming together, and I think it's been a great stride forward over the last few years of just the different adjustments we make to adjust the current conditions, and Colerain Township's doing a great job getting the place cleaned up. Yes, there are some things that need to be done, but we are pretty far ahead of a lot of other communities, and so I support what you're doing here.
I agree. Thank you.
I just want to add one thing to kind of, Mr. Unger mentioned it earlier, and I want to just go back to it because I'm guilty of this too. We spend a lot of time talking about what Mr. Mills said, sometimes are victims of this crime. If you're throwing trash and dumping trash, quit it. It's your home. It doesn't even make any sense from a rational actor perspective because you impact the property values. You cause us to have to give litter picker-uppers. Ultimately, we want to get to the point where we don't need that person, that people actually, I mean, you can, no matter where you live, you should respect where you live, respect the earth and its in the businesses, and they're not here to pick up after you. I think that we concentrate on the people that oftentimes have the stuff dumped. Quit dumping. I mean, it's irresponsible. It's maddening. It's frustrating for everybody that's trying to make a community a better place.
And if you've got something big to get rid of, call up Rumpke or intermediary that we're talking about, and And they will help you out and take big stuff once in a while. I think that's in the contract somewhere also. And there's no need to leave a couch or a refrigerator or tires or anything. We have a state-of-the-art company that handles that, and we happen to have it right here in the township. So you make a phone call and find out where to get rid of things, and you're putting yourself in a bad way if you're caught dumping. And with our new environmental crimes investigator, we're going to find out more and more and more about the very small group of people that are doing this to the rest of the community.
I was in the solid waste committee meeting a few weeks ago. We still installing cameras and watching these people who are doing the illegal dumping, and they're not going to get away. And we're going to catch them.
Yes, sir.
So maybe we'll bring a Judge Bouchard here one time to the meeting. He's going to come. He's a housing court judge. He'll say he will come and address.
Yes.
So we are serious about this group of trustees and administration, police department, and we're going to fight this. And anyway, any more discussions on the organizational chart? No. Okay, Mr. Baker, roll call, please.
Mr. Unger.
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal.
Aye.
Mr. Waller.
Aye.
Thank you, Board. The final item of new business this evening is a resolution amending the 2020 permanent appropriations, and Mr. Jeff McElravy will present this item.
Good evening, Board.
Good evening. Again?
Again.
Yeah.
The resolution before you is a housekeeping item related to the appropriations for the CARES Act funds from 2020. Last August, we received a remittance from Hamilton County for $603,312.91. And when that remittance comes from the county, it comes in the form of an email with a very brief description of the source of the funds. When we received the funds, since it was such a brief description and really rather a cryptic one, we reached out to the county to inquire as to the source of the funds, and they said that it was from Hamilton County. So we went ahead and receipted the funds into the CARES Hamilton County Fund rather than the CARES State of Ohio Fund. Well, it turns out, fast forward 5 months, we learned from the state of Ohio that the source of those funds was in fact the state rather than the county. So what we did is go back and, in consultation with the state auditor, we reallocated all of those expenses that were associated with that remittance from the county fund to the state fund. And also, what we are asking that you do this evening is to clarify the appropriations for the two funds for 2020 as described on the second page of the resolution, so that for Fund 2272, which is the Ohio Fund, the permanent appropriations for 2020 would be $3,162,261.91, and that the appropriation for the CARES account for Hamilton County would be $669,296. The recommendation from staff is approval of the resolution.
I recommend we authorize the adoption of additional appropriations, Coronavirus AIDS Relief and Economic Security CARES Act.
I second it. Any discussions?
Not for me.
None.
None. Mr. Baker, roll call, please.
Mr. Unger.
Yes.
Mr. Rajagopal.
Aye.
Mr. Waller.
Aye.
Thank you, Board.
Thank you, Jeff.
Okay, gentlemen, there is no old business this evening. We have a number of consent items, and if I could, there is one additional consent item that is not in the published agenda, but I would like to ask for you to consider, and that is the hiring of Mrs. Sarah Begley to serve as an accounting specialist. Mrs. Begley, there were 35 applicants for this role, and 5 were interviewed, and Mrs. Begley rose to the top of that list. It is important to get staff quickly included into the finance department, and I would ask your leave to amend the agenda to include the hiring of Miss Begley this evening.
So I'm in the consent item agenda to add H, new hire, Ms. Sarah?
Begley, Begley.
Ms. Sarah Begley?
Yes.
To the, is accounting specialist?
And I'll second the motion to amend the agenda to add item 12H, as Mr. Wallard has described. No discussion from me.
Okay.
So we have to vote on the amendment.
Vote on this amendment? Yes. Mr. Baker, roll call, please.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Waller?
Aye.
Okay, board, thank you very much. So now I'll roll through all these consent items, and then typically at the end, there's a motion to approve all consent items. The first item on the consent agenda is a new hire for a police cadet in the police department. The position of police officer was posted. We received applications and conducted interviews. There was a gentleman named Patrick Horde who was selected as the candidate to fill an open police officer position. This request is to hire Patrick Horde as a police cadet immediately, and then a probationary police officer contingent upon completing the required state testing. I'll just note here, when you see a fantastic officer, you know that he's going to get snatched up. He or she is going to get snatched up. And so this is an opportunity to grab a highly skilled young man and bring him into our organization before he completes his police academy. Once he completes the police academy, then he would join. He would be authorized to be a police officer. While he's a cadet, he would be eligible to work no more than 20 hours per week at $15 per hour. He would be eligible to begin this work on April 14th, 2021. He is expected to graduate from the police academy in May and complete all requirements to be eligible for promotion to probationary police officer in June. Upon assuming the role of probationary police officer, Patrick would serve a one-year probationary period, and the salary for that position is $25.48 per hour at 40 hours a week. And another additional benefit to hiring Mr. Horde as a cadet is he's able to get some of his FTO training done before he graduates from the academy, and he'll be on the street faster. So that's the first item. The second item is a authorization to hire an intern in administration department. The position was included in our budget and strategic plan. Excuse me. It was posted, applications were received, and interviews were conducted. A conditional offer of employment was extended to Corey Foister. The wage for this job is $15 an hour for 28 hours per week. Contingent upon your approval this evening, he'd be eligible to begin work on April 13th. Next item in the consent agenda is a recommendation to hire a maintenance laborer in the Public Services Department. This position was, of course, posted, and we received applications, conducted interviews. Conditional offer of employment was extended to Mr. Jeffrey Payne Jr. The wage for this job is $19 per hour for 40 hours per week. Upon attaining his CDL, Commercial's Driver's License A, he would be moved to a rate of $21 per hour per the AFSCME collective bargaining agreement. If you approve his hire this evening, he'd be eligible to begin work on April 14th.
Jeff,
Yes,
in
sir.
the order that you have these on the agenda, that person's name is, okay, I see where this is. That person that you just mentioned is,
Jeffrey Payne Jr., page 84.
okay, yeah, okay, I see that in here, thank you.
Sure. You got it. The next item on the consent agenda is a recommendation for a new hire, a seasonal fire hydrant maintenance workers, actually three. So this position, of course, was posted. We received applications, conducted interviews. We made conditional offers of employment to the following individuals: Jaden Chappell, Tyler Leppert, and Devin Trusty. The wage for this job is $11.33 per hour for no more than 30 hours per week throughout the season. Contingent upon your approval this evening, Mr. Chappell, Leppert, and Trusty, they would be eligible to begin work on April 18th, 2021. Next item on the agenda is recommendation to hire a full-time firefighter. The position, of course, was posted. We conducted interviews. Conditional offer of employment was made to Colin Froschauer. The wage for this job is $48,926 annually per the IAFF Local 3915 bargaining agreement. Conditioned upon your approval, Mr. Froschauer would be eligible to begin work April 18th. Then we have a contract that was signed with Sedgwick to perform our workers' compensation managed care. The cost of this contract is $6,275. And then finally, oh, no, not finally. Then we have a recommendation to hire 2 seasonal maintenance workers in the Public Services Department. We posted this position, received applications and conducted interviews. We made conditional offers of employment to Mr. Dylan Bigner and Mr. Jacob Carter. These are both returning employees. Their rate of pay would be $12.50 per hour for 40 hours per week throughout the season. Contingent upon your approval, Mr. Bigner would be eligible to begin May 3rd, and Mr. Carter would be eligible to begin April 7th. That's not right, that's May 7th. Okay, and then finally, we have item H, which you added to your to the agenda this evening. Thank you, to hire Ms. Sarah Begley. We received, as I mentioned, applications 35, interviewed 5 candidates. Conditional offer of employment was made to Ms. Begley, contingent upon your approval. Ms. Begley would be able to start April 19th as an accounting specialist in the finance department. So that concludes the consent agenda. The recommendation is to move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll motion to approve the consent items as amended, A through H inclusively.
I'll second Mr. Waller's motion.
Any discussions?
None?
None.
Mr. Baker, roll call, please.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Waller?
Aye.
Thank you, Board. We've accomplished a lot tonight.
The next on the agenda is a fiscal office report.
Thank you, Board. I'll be brief. So far, year-to-date, from January through today's date, we've received 80 total public records requests. We've fulfilled 73, leaving 7 still outstanding. And I do want to just, there's to kind of explain briefly how these get closed out. I had kind of a hard time this week explaining that to a person who wasn't understanding why they weren't receiving an attachment to a certain email. The way that the process works is when you enter those requests through CSR, it generates an HR number, and when those records are fulfilled, I send that email myself to the individual requesting the records. The email that comes from Jeff Baker at Colerain.org, the fiscal officer, has the attachments. Also, an auto-generated email is sent out from CSR. That just lets the person know that their item in CSR has been closed. It also references a description, which is the email that I had previously sent to them. So if you're looking for an attachment, filling your records request, that email will be from Jeff Baker. So hopefully that explains it a little bit better. And with that, that's all I have tonight, Board.
Thank you, Jeff. Next on the agenda is executive session if needed.
No, sir.
Thank you. Then, time to call for adjournment. We have motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion that we adjourn the meeting at 9:01 PM.
I will second that motion at the home of the first place Cincinnati Reds.
Any discussions?
Not from me.
Okay. Jeff, roll call, please.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Waller?
Aye.
The meeting is adjourned. Thank you for watching the meeting.